Hey, it's Sonnie coming at you from Fukuoka, Japan. Over the summer, we were in Australia, and now that you've seen all of those vlogs, I wanted to talk to you a bit about our experiences there, specifically about reverse culture shocks. We had been living in Japan for an entire year, and then suddenly we were in a Western culture again. And there were a lot of things that we kind of got used to and we were really surprised by. Before we start this video, I want to make an announcement that Joe and I have our next trip all lined up and it is less than a month away. So I mentioned on the return video from Cambodia and Australia and all the other places that we went to that Joe wanted to go to Thailand next, and we made it happen. So next up is Thailand. We are going for 2 weeks during winter break. We are not doing the long layovers or anything like that because it's only 2 weeks. So we want to spend all of that time in Thailand. And we are going to be there during the dry season. So we get to see a whole new side of Southeast Asia, and then I can tell you kind of what the benefits are to going during each time. So I'm so excited! We're going to be going to Bangkok, to Chiang Mai, and I think Chiang Rai. But we're leaving it really loose. We only have the first hostel booked that we're staying in when we first arrive. So yeah, we're gonna kind of play it by ear and just do things off the cuff like we normally do. And yay, I'm excited. If you're excited, hit the like button, comment, yay, on with the video. So number one, how big people were. And I mean this in a couple of different ways. So we were walking around and there were these like huge guys with huge muscles and they were really tall, and we were like, wow. You just don't see those body types here in Japan. But then overall, there were a lot more overweight people in Australia than in Japan. And you kind of get used to being surrounded by these really skinny people. And the obesity rate in Japan is increasing as Western fast food comes to Japan and becomes more and more popular. But there's no comparison between Western countries and the obesity rates and here in Japan and the obesity rates. Number two, so many babies. There were babies everywhere. And it was funny because we had been hearing about the declining birth rate in Japan and the huge aging population and all of the economical and sociological consequences of that here in Japan. If you want me to do a video on that, let me know and I can do that because I've done a ton of research on the subject. But when you're here, you're like, I see babies. I see babies places. They're having babies. You know, like you have kindergartens and you're seeing that stuff. But then when we went to Australia, I was like, everyone has a baby. Everyone has multiple babies. And there were babies everywhere. It was so shocking how I didn't really notice how different it was going from a Western country to Japan. I think there were just so many differences that maybe we didn't notice the extreme absence of babies. Or maybe Australian people spend more time outdoors, so we saw more of them. I don't know, but holy cow, babies everywhere. Babies everywhere in Australia. Number three, wearing shoes indoors again. In Japan, you have a genkan at every apartment or every house or anywhere pretty much that isn't like a public place like a mall, for example. Even a lot of restaurants have these little genkan areas, and basically they're little areas where you take off your shoes and then you either put on slippers or you wear your socks. Or at like schools or business places, you'll have 2 pairs of shoes. One outdoor pair and one indoor pair. The same applies to gyms and different things like that. All of my students have 1 pair of shoes that they keep at the school and 1 pair that they wear when they go back and forth. So we kind of got used to that, and actually we rarely ever walk through the house with shoes on now. And I kind of hope that we keep that up, because I think I prefer it now that I've lived through that. But in Australia, it felt really weird to walk into somebody's house and not take our shoes off. And I was standing there wearing my shoes, and I kind of felt bad that I was like dirtying up their house with my shoes from outside. So that was a really big culture shock, that I got so used to taking off my shoes that I would almost like start taking them off, or like go to take them off, and then realize that that would be really weird if I did that. Number 4, cars are huge in Australia. In Japan, because they have these really, really narrow roads, the cars are pretty small. It's really rare to see trucks in general, unless it's like a company truck or something like that. But pickup trucks or things of that nature you may see out in the countryside, but even then, it's really not too common. So when we went to Australia, and like everybody had either SUVs or trucks or these really, really big cars, it was just really surprising. Like, we had so much space. We brought these smaller things of luggage, and we totally could have brought so much more, because we're just not used to it anymore, to how big cars can be. And that makes sense, because Australia is huge, just like the US is huge. So both countries don't have great public transportation. Here in Japan, most people live in cities, and those cities have really great bus systems, undergrounds or subway systems. Not in every city, but a lot of them do. And then they also have rail systems in between pretty much every city that you can take. Australia is similar to America in that the public transportation could use some work, for sure. So everybody has cars. There's a lot of people that we know here in Japan that don't have their license. And one of the reasons that is because getting your license in Japan is incredibly expensive. For me to get my license, because my American license expired, it would be over $2,000 to get my license here. Yep. So that's why I don't have my license. But also because they have really great transportation here. Number 5, no konbinis. So for those of you who don't know, a konbini is a convenience store. That's how it's translated here. And they are everywhere, and they are so convenient, and they spoiled us like crazy here in Japan. Because if we go someplace like in the countryside and there isn't a convenience store within like a 3 or 4 block radius, we're like, what the hell? You know, we're getting annoyed that we can't really easily get some fried chicken or some really good cheap food at the konbini. And yeah, the convenience factor of just any walkable part of the city, you will find multiple convenience stores. That once we left and we didn't have that, we were like, well, where do we go? We were just so used to seeing a Lawson's or a 7-Eleven or one of those everywhere here, that when we're in Australia, it was really weird to not see convenience stores places. Yeah, I don't know. That one, it just felt very strange. But then obviously Australia had other things that Japan doesn't, like for example, really big supermarkets, which they have in the countryside, but like we would be in a city and they would have this huge supermarket in Australia. Yeah, the lack of convenience stores was weird, really weird for us. Number 6, so much skin. So much skin was showing. I mean, we were in Australia in the winter, but it was still pretty hot. So a lot of people were walking around with a lot of skin showing. And in Japan, especially women, you don't show skin like at all. In the summer, women will wear like these armband things that stretch all the way up, and they're like really long gloves, or they don't have the hands and they're just like sleeves that you wear when you wear t-shirts to protect your arms from the sun. And then they usually also have like a UV umbrella, and then they'll have a visor that's shaded and UV and it goes over your face, and they wear scarves and they're completely covered during the summer. And then in addition to this, you don't show cleavage in Japan. You do not. Breasts are incredibly sexualized here. So I usually do the armpit test. So I put my thumbs in my armpits and I put them across, and if anything goes below that line, I can't wear it. If it's above that line, I can wear it because that's the part of my chest that's allowed to show. At least that's kind of the allowance that I've noticed that's okay here. But yeah, we're walking around Australia and we're like, oh my God, boobs. Boobs! Like, boobs are everywhere. And I really miss boobs. Boobs are great. Like, why should we have to cover up? I don't like it. But that's the culture here. What are you gonna do? We're trying to be respectful of the culture. So I really can't wear spaghetti straps or anything like that. Can't show cleavage. You're not, as a woman, supposed to also show like your lower back, and I can go more into how to dress in Japan, but there's a lot of rules that you have to abide by, and the overall thing is cover up. During the summer, cover up to protect your skin from the sun, and any other time, cover up to be modest and conservative, basically. And in addition to showing so much skin, we also saw number 7, so many tattoos. Oh my gosh, Joe and I were walking around and we were like, we need more tattoos. Everybody had so many tattoos. I was really surprised by how common it was there. We obviously like tattoos, but they are so not okay with tattoos here in Japan, which I mentioned in my video. I think I link it up that way. Maybe that's right, maybe it's over there, but I think it's over here. In Culture Shocks Coming to Japan, just how strongly they are against tattoos here in Japan is pretty crazy. It's the exact opposite in Australia. There were tattoos everywhere, and it was so cool and refreshing, and I could wear what I wanted, and it was great, and I loved that. Freedom! I had freedom! And it was wonderful. Number 8, the small talk and the overall casual friendliness. I missed this so freaking much because in Japan, they don't do small talk. And the customer service here is really great, but it's very like, I am the company and I am representing the company and I am not an individual and I cannot tell you about my day individually and I have to be the face of the company and therefore I am very robotic almost. Like, they have a script that they stick to and they don't derail from that, and they don't do small talk. They don't ask you how your day was or anything like that, which I kind of really miss. Just, you know, those little small interactions and that friendliness where you are both talking as if you're human beings. And we have that in Australia, and even in Japan, like, people stare because we're foreigners, but it is considered rude to stare. So Joe enjoys staring back at them and then making them, you know, look away. I just get really self-conscious and I look down. And in Australia, like, I opened a bathroom door and a woman was there washing her hands and she just like looked over and was like, hello. And I was like, hello, hi, wow, you acknowledged my existence, yay. It made me so happy. Like, everybody smiles. Like, in Japan, people don't necessarily smile at each other. I always smile at little kids and like wave at them and stuff because I want them to know that foreigners aren't necessarily terrifying. But then sometimes you make babies cry. Because sometimes you're the first foreigner or a non-Japanese person or non-Asian person that a baby has ever seen, and you just look at them in an elevator and they burst into tears at your face. Yeah, true story. But that didn't happen in Australia, and that was great. Have you ever experienced reverse culture shocks? I haven't been back to the US since we left the country 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, less than 3, around 3 years ago now. So I haven't experienced reverse culture shock in the US, but when it comes to Asian countries and Western countries, this was my first time experiencing that type of reverse culture shock. So a lot of people, when they go and stay an extended period of time in another culture that's really, really different, when they go back home to the culture that they should be more comfortable in, more familiar with, they experience culture shock all over again. So have you ever experienced this phenomenon? Comment below, let me know, I want to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you really liked it, please subscribe to see more content like this. And if you already subscribed, please hit the little bell icon next to the subscription box so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And share this on any social media platform that you use and enjoy. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!